Hello and Happy New Year. Danny Hogger here, and today on Inspiring Teachers, we're going to talk to Adam Welcome, a super inspirational guy who's not far away from us, but as everything is distance learning and remote, we talked on Zoom to catch up about his amazing ideas for motivating staff, teachers, and students, and he's spoken to hundreds of audiences around the United States and is just a stellar guest for us here to have. I want to wish you a happy and healthy new year full of properly pronounced syllables. And this morning, I just want to say thank you for listening to us all year long. And thank our friends at ampeduplearning.com. Go there, check out all of their resources, their outstanding lessons, activities, FREC decks, resources to get your students up and moving or thinking more clearly about their lessons and objectives. Go there and check out the promo code HoggerHistory10. Save 10% off your order. You're welcome. No need to thank me for my gifts because we're all just sharing with each other and trying to increase our aptitude for teaching. And it's really a pleasure to bring you these outstanding interviews each and every week. AmpedUpLearning.com is full of great resources, and check out the Hogger History page while you're there. My cat is pawing me to remind me to tell you that because I've put some of my favorite teaching lessons and activities and what I think are life-changing interactive lessons that you can go and check out there that will inspire your students. All right, well, thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Here's today's guest, Adam Welcome.
Being able to relate to people and connect with them is always something that I strive to do, because I feel then when I can do that and I'm successful in that, then people are going to go back to their school or their classroom or whatever they're doing and have that relatability inside of them to be able to do what they want to do for themselves.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
Oh, welcome to another exciting edition of Inspiring Teachers. Danny Hogger here. Tavis Beam is on special assignment. Actually, I think he's hiking up in the forest. He told me the weather was too nice to come inside today. So here I am. My next guest runs more miles than I talk, and that's saying something. He reminds us that complaining is not a strategy, that hard work pays dividends, and that we can inspire and innovate if we explore the ways of our own improvement as teachers. Some would even say he runs like a pirate. More on that shortly. From Lafayette, California, here's Adam. Welcome. Adam, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
Hey, man, rocking and rolling. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we could find time to make this happen.
For sure. So I've been doing this show for just a few months now. We're on episode 32 here. And when I was browsing through Twitter and kind of amazed by how many active teachers there are doing cool things online and encouraging each other, I started reading your tweets pretty frequently. And then the day I clicked on your profile, I'm like, wait, Lafayette? I'm in the East Bay, and we're probably the closest distance of two people who've never gathered to meet, right? We're just online here. So were you born in the California area? In the NorCal, or?
Yeah, I'm actually from Martinez. So actually good
Awesome.
Martinez. And I was actually principal where I went to school. I was principal at John Sweat Elementary.
That's cool.
Out in the valley, and I did not go far. But I'm with you. Most people I know and people I connect with are not even in California, let alone the Bay Area, let alone the East Bay. So it's definitely a rare for sure.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, my first sub experience was Martinez. I coached Martinez Junior High for a few years, the girls basketball team. So awesome stuff. And then I taught in Lafayette for 4 years. So we do a lot of the same places. But
totally, man.
What was your journey getting into education then? You grew up in Martinez, and did you know you were going to be a teacher? What was the impetus?
Yeah, so I grew up in a household. My dad was a teacher. He taught second grade for 35 years in Richmond, California, kind of like the inner cities of the Bay Area. So I can remember just going to his school as a kid and spending time. And I remember when I was younger than his class and then when I was older than his class. And I don't think I really wanted to become a teacher growing up. But then after college, I kind of had a couple false starts and just really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was like 22 years old and decided to get my credential, and the rest is just history. So yeah, I was a elementary school teacher, elementary vice principal, elementary principal. And then most recently, I was a director of innovation for a large school district in the East Bay. And probably the coolest job ever. Just got to do cool stuff all day long. And now I just travel and speak and write books and work with educators and school districts around the country, which is super, super fun.
That's pretty interesting, in a progression in a lot of roles and interacting with a lot of people. That interpersonal connection must be an important part of what you like to do, since you've chosen to move on and teach in many different facilities and speak and motivate educators. What is it about communicating? Is that something you always wanted to do no matter what it was? You mentioned some false starts earlier. I know I did broadcasting for 10 years and was interested in music as well. And I was a computer science minor for one day. I went to one class. I'm like, no, nope, this is fantastic, but not for me. I can't, I'm already tired of looking at the screen. And I do it all the time now anyway, right? Everything's digital. But
Sure.
how important is the interpersonal thing for what you wanted to do with your life?
Yeah, so I was actually a speech major at college with like a minor in snowboarding. I probably snowboarded more than I actually spent time at Chico State.
Right.
But yeah, just talking to people and connecting. To me, it's always about the relationships and those connections that you can make, because those connections, I feel, are what people take with them. It's those stories, it's the relatability, and that interpersonal part. And I feel really, no matter what job you are, if you're a teacher, if you're a police officer, if you're a CEO, you have to be able to communicate. And I think even more importantly, connect with people, because when you make that connection, let's say you're a teacher and you're really building those relationships and connecting with your students, they're going to do more for you. They're going to work harder. They're going to jump through the window if you tell them to. And then you translate that to a principal and you have an entire community that is looking to you for leadership and guidance. That's just, scaled times 100, and being able to connect with all those different personalities, teachers, your superintendent, community members, neighbors that don't even have kids in the school. You got to be able to build those relationships and communicate. And I think, focusing on that is way more important than focusing on like the structures of your school or your classroom. Those systems and structures are really important, but that culture piece, which stems from the communication piece, that has to come first, because if you don't have that, you cannot do anything else. And I don't care what job you do in a school district, really what job you do in general, you got to build those relationships. You got to build that culture and those connections. And then once you have that, then you can move forward.
Yeah, I agree with you. I tell my students all the time, we practice writing, we practice talking, because I don't care what you're going to do in your life. It's going to help you at some point. Think about any experience you have with anyone in any profession. It's a good experience when they communicate well. It can be really poor and frustrating if they can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that is totally a two-sided street. I heard you say that it's got to be a connection between two people. So it can't be, I'm so great at communicating, I'll just go out and make you wonderful. It's like, what common ground do we have to go from, is what I feel like with my students. Yeah. What are you interested in? I'm interested in this aspect of that. What is it about it? And when you're absolutely right too, that they'll do anything for you when the relationship's there. I always tell my students that I am not up here and you're here. We're learning together. We're going through history and government together. So lots of good points to unpack there. What do you think was your why of teaching in the classroom when you were in that role, of many that you've been in? Why did you get up and get ready to work in the morning? What was your motivation?
Yeah, it's funny because I've written a couple of books, and the first book I wrote was called Kids Deserve It, with Todd Neslony, who's a principal in Texas. And it's funny, I've been saying kids deserve it for years, because I just saw too many other teachers, colleagues of mine when I was a teacher, that I felt put them first and not the kids first.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt, way back when I was a teacher, 15, 16 years ago, that it wasn't about me. It was about the kids. And people that made it about them, they had more discipline problems in their class. They had more issues in their class. They weren't as happy. You can just tell that they were not a happy human being. And my why has always been just to do what's best for kids. And if it is not good for kids, no matter what you do, every decision needs to fall back to the kids. When I was a principal, we had a saying at my school, and the saying was Team Kid. And it was on everything. It was our hashtag. We put it on posters and t-shirts, and everybody knew if it wasn't Team Kid, we didn't do it as a community. And that really should be the why, I think, for people, because if you're going to work for you and you're frumpy and grumpy, then you should find something else to do.
Mm-hmm.
When I speak, I tell people, if you don't like kids, please find something else to do. And if you need a recharge, then you know what? Change grade levels, change schools, take a couple of days off, because our kids deserve our very best every single day. I used to say, I don't have bad days. I have good days and I have great days, because kids do not deserve our bad days. They don't deserve our bad laundry and our, whatever we have going on in our life. And if we take whatever we have going on in our life into our classroom or our school, then it's about us and it's not about the kids.
Yeah, that's good. Straightforward and clear cut. As far as speech goes, you majored in it. I was a radio, TV, film major, so spent a lot of time crafting messages. Are there some speakers that you like listening to today that you think do a particularly wonderful job connecting and making it about the audience and not about themselves, or do a great job of telling their own stories as well?
I'll talk about podcasting.
Yeah.
I've had a podcast for years and years too, so I just got much love for the podcasters. Rich Roll is one of my favorite podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
I'm vegan. He's vegan. That's not why I love him. He always makes it about the guest, which in turns makes it about the audience. It's the Rich Roll podcast, but it's not about him. And I just love the message and how you bring it back. And I would say my other favorite podcaster is Jocko Willink. He wrote Extreme Ownership. He's a former Navy SEAL. He's written some children's books, and he's got an amazing podcast. He talks about war a lot, but I love those leadership analogies in what he talks about, and he always brings it back to a lesson. It's a very humble kind of approach to it, which I really appreciate. There's so many good speakers out there. The problem with being a speaker myself is I always don't see many speakers because I'm usually the speaker, which is kind of funny. But Tom Murray, who's a good friend of mine, he's a speaker that lives back in DC. He's amazing. Joe Sanfilippo, he's a superintendent in Wisconsin, and he always just goes back to the why, and it's always back to the teachers and the audience, and that's what I always strive to do as well too. So I think those are probably my shout outs. For today.
That's good resources for people to pick up on those.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the work that you've been doing lately, I know you just went on was it a 10-mile? Was it a marathon? Was it a run? What were you doing?
So I run. I'm just training right now. Yeah, just a little 10-miler this morning. We had I was supposed to be skiing this weekend. We left Thursday and we got turned around almost at the summit, Donner Summit, and we were there for 2 hours, and we decided to come home. And then the highway was closed for 2 days, so we did not go skiing for the weekend. So I ran 8 miles 3 days in a row, and then a 10-miler. I got a couple marathons coming up, and a 50-miler and a 100-miler. So I'm always training. People tell me, Adam, what are you training for? And I always tell them I am training for life.
Nice.
Yes, there is a race coming up, but really I think when you're training for life and you're ready for life, that is way more important than training for a race per se. So I always just kind of keep that in mind and to spread that message.
Kind of a big picture too, and sure. That's positive. And run like a pirate, is that something that follows the same identification, the same motivation for you?
Yeah. So Run Like a Pirate is a book about running, but it's not about running. That's kind of like my Zen response. I talk about 2 years ago in 2017, I ran one marathon a month for the entire year. And there's some other surprises, some other races in there too. And I just wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to see what I really had inside of me, because I felt that there was potential that I wasn't tapping into. And I learned a lot. I tell the story of meeting my wife and running with my kids. And, no matter what you do, even if you don't even run, I've had so many non-runners read the book and say that they just got motivated and inspired to do more with whatever they do. Like if you knit, you're going to become a better knitter after reading the book, because you just become inspired by doing more with whatever it is. I use running as my analogy, but you can really plug in any analogy or hobby or passion that you do and just do more of it. Because I just feel, like this is not like my practice life, I feel. And I want to live every single day to the fullest. And I want to encourage other people to do the same. Turn off Netflix. Go do something with your life. If you want to watch Netflix, that's great. Chop it down in half. And the other half of the time, go do something, because there is just so much wasted opportunity I see. And not even just teachers, just in people in general. And people are going to live their life how they want to live their life. But I just don't want to waste a second, because you just don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah, no, that's true. No one's guaranteed those moments. And I think people appreciate hearing that message from you today. Just before we take off here and go off down the road and try to find where Tavis is hiking and figure out if we're going to record anything else today, is just if you've just spoken to an audience and they have sometimes comment cards and surveys that they'll fill out for you, and sometimes you'll get that feedback, I assume. What is something that they understood what you were talking about if they wrote this? What kind of thing would that be?
If they wrote what? Sorry.
Their feedback to you. You're looking like, oh, they got my message.
Yeah. I would say that people say that Adam is relatable, and even though he may be the one on stage talking to us, I felt like I knew him and I could relate to him. And I think that's really important for me because I am just a person. I hate when people, say, "Oh my gosh, Adam," I hate that. Like, I'm just a person and I just happen to have done different things in my life than you and to be at a different place. A lot of it because of hard work, some of it because of luck, and just being able to relate to people and connect with them, going back to that interpersonal piece, is always something that I strive to do, because I feel then when I can do that and I'm successful in that, then people are going to go back to their school or their classroom or whatever they're doing and have that relatability inside of them to be able to do what they want to do for themselves. And I think if you have a harder time relating to a speaker or someone that you're learning from, you're not going to connect as much. And then maybe you won't have that same belief that you can do what you want to do when you go back. So yeah, that's my goal.
That's pretty good. I like that goal a lot. And something I will translate for what I think the value of this show is, something that you just said. If you don't connect with the person, you really don't attach your whole priority of learning and adapting their message. Something I'm hoping we get from this show is the wide variety of influence from so many people from different walks of life, I think creates this tapestry of really nice motivation and morale. And it all comes from a very good place. And appreciate you sharing that with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so MrAdamWelcome.com, and follow you on Twitter. Anything else that you want to tell our listeners about before we take off here?
Hey, that's it. I'll just say is get after it. Have fun, smile. Everyone's got a great day. Celebrate the small wins. Nothing is too small to celebrate, especially when it comes to kids.
For sure. Thanks so much for joining us today. Adam, welcome. And for Danny Hogger, we'll see you on the next edition. For now, class is dismissed.